It has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. A little bit, maybe more to do with Donald Trump. He's a revolutionary thinker, but this would have happened anyway.
He's a moron.
You can call him a moron, but he's my moron. And he's my moron.
All right, we couldn't do this here on the Evening Edition without a couple of comedians, without bringing a little bit of jollity to the airwaves, because we're in that really awkward bit of time where we're waiting for exit polls, where people have turned out mostly, people who are going to vote are there, people have done it. And in fact, you've had a huge amount of early voting as well, a historic amount of early voting in this US election. So we're at that tense point at the moment. So it seems like the right time to bring two American comedians into the studio. Lewis Schaffer, who's clapping himself.
Yeah, somebody has to clap.
Congratulations, Lewis.
Wow.
Lewis Schaffer from New York, which is going to say, Lewis from New York.
Yeah.
And Dave Fulton from Idaho.
That's right.
Hi, Dave.
Hi.
They're actually dressed akin to where they're from as well. Idaho being kind of a very mountainous, wilderness type place. Dave has fallen into stereotype there by coming dressed as sort of, someone who roams the wilderness.
Yes.
And fully decked in his business suit. Looking like he's about to face off against Rudy Giuliani. Lewis Schaffer.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. He has more money than Rudy does right now. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But Dave Fulton is a proper American. And that's what I think about you. I don't consider myself...
Are you only a plastic American?
Well, I'm a New York Jew, and I never felt like an American. I never felt like somebody... I mean, we totally are. I think when I became an American when they blew up the World Trade Center buildings. And, wow, yeah. Up until then, it was like we were like on an island. What's that saying? We're an island off the coast of America. And that's what they said.
My family's actually been in America since prior to the War of Independence. We can trace our family all the way back. Yeah. My grandmother was a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. There's a graveyard in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania that has all our relatives there. We were part of the Whiskey Rebellion of 1791, which is the proper thing to fight for, by the way. There's independence, there's election fraud, but whiskey is the proper thing to fight for.
Whiskey's the main thing.
Yes.
Look, tell me where you guys sit in terms of this election. It's probably historically going to be one of the closest in history. That's what the polls are telling us so far.
We can't trust the polls.
No, we can't. In fact, Americans don't trust much at all, do they? Just in general.
Not that they don't trust. They used to trust. I used to trust, and you can't trust them. Who knows what the story is? They want it to be close to make it seem like Kamala Harris was an okay choice and to get people to vote. I think it's manipulative.
She's an okay
choice. We're like 3 minutes in, and the conspiracy theories have started.
I take total offense at conspiracy theories. I think the fact is that last time they said Wisconsin was up by Joe Biden was up by 17 points or something, and then he wound up winning by a point or something. It was the polls.
So you are ignoring the polls?
No, I'm paying attention to them. You got nothing else to pay attention to.
The great thing about conspiracy theories is they'll always find fertile ground on the weak-minded. So, case in point, my good friend from the far eastern.
Well, do you know why
States.
that is? If they find in the weak-minded, because the people who believe they can't believe that they've been lied to.
The reason conspiracy theories work so well is because people can't believe the truth. You tell them this is what happened and this went down, this and that.
Also, because there is always a grain of truth to them. That is why conspiracy theories work so well, because there is always something. Anyway.
That's a whole other show.
Okay, tell me who you're backing. Are you willing to say live on air who you like, who you don't like, what you like about this election, what you don't like? Lewis Schaffer?
Well, I don't want to say. I'll tell you why I don't want to say. Because I've said in the past there were candidates that I really supported who totally let me down. And I'm afraid that Donald Trump is going to let me down the same way, Eugene Nickerson, who was running for Nassau County executive or commissioner, whatever he was called. This you wouldn't know. It's just some guy, local guy. You have this total faith that this is going to change the world. But based on what you can make it. I don't want to say because I've been.
You haven't said at all. Actually, you've just been
rambling.
You're rambling. You should run. You should run for politics because you have not said anything right now.
I think people can get the impression of who I because people who support Kamala Harris, they just go gung ho for her, and
not everybody.
No, the people who support her, very few people go.
Once again, you get the media who they'll just concentrate on whatever gets the eyeballs on there. That's why you don't. If Kamala had said half the things that Trump said. Oh my God, she'd be running on a rail. But I'm not a die-in-the-wool Democrat. I'm not a left-leaning, bleeding heart, all
For
that
the
kind of
sake
stuff
of
like
this
that.
show, can you be a dyed-in-the-wool?
No, I can't. Because
she brought you on to be.
no, I can't. I mean,
Well, it didn't work with you and the Republicans.
No, but
voted-
it'll come out. You'll see. I love Donald
look,
Trump.
I vote. I've even got the hat. I even got the.
Yeah.
What does your hat say,
white,
Dave?
It says "White Dudes for Harris." I think it's hilarious. I do. I think it's funny as hell.
Tell me why Kamala Harris. Come on.
Well, I think Kamala. We've got two choices here. We've got the convicted felon, or we got the what could possibly be America's first female president, which I think is amazing. So I've got to vote on the right side of history. And I think we need somebody like that. I think we need a woman in charge. I think the problem with Hillary is there was too much of a dynasty there. She's a very, very smart and very intelligent woman, but she didn't take into account.
But she was too establishment.
Yeah, she was too establishment, and I think she didn't take into account that the people in the Midwest, the high school educated white guys are the ones that are gonna, you got to win them over. You got to go, okay, yeah, let's go hunting. But she called them deplorables, and that was the end of that.
Whereas Kamala Harris has turned around and said that she's got a gun.
She's got a gun. Yeah,
Tim Walz has got a gun.
Everybody's got it. America, I've got guns. Everybody's got a gun in America.
I do not have a gun.
Well, you should, because
And I should have a gun.
you could borrow one of mine.
The point is, no one mentions that. We're going to go back in time. Who cares if a woman is a woman to be president of the United States? If she were good, but she can't be good because.
Why can't she be good? Come on.
Look at the alternative. Look at the alternative. You got the convicted
I'm not going to say
felon.
why she can't be good, but I will say why she can't be good for political grounds is that everything that she stands for, and she does stand for something. She's Canadian. She's not even an American.
Oh my God.
She
She's
spent most of her
American.
life in Canada. Her parents were not really American.
That doesn't matter. She was born, thanks to the 14th Amendment, she's an American. She was born in
there's
America.
only one thing that makes you Canadian. It's the same thing that makes you British. There's only one thing.
Cheese?
And that's, do you
Gravy.
love America?
Gravy.
If you love America, you can
And so you think Kamala Harris doesn't love America?
No, she's a hate.
She loves America. She's had great opportunities. She's done extremely well.
Okay.
She's
I don't
not
think
born.
I think she loves
I think between
America.
but if her wealth, but her and Tim Walz combined are probably the poorest officials we've ever had come up for president and vice president.
Whatever the reason she hates America, and Tim Walz was like in the arms of some Chinese. Possibly, I don't know. We got to be careful.
Now he's stirring up the.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about dealing with the facts? The fact that Trump never paid the people. He's got over 4,000 non-payment cases. Pending in the courts because he wouldn't pay his subcontractors because he thought it was cheaper to take him to court than it was to pay him. I knew people in New York who never got paid. I know people in Scotland never got paid for the golf course.
Okay,
These are cheap.
Just as it makes you feel uncomfortable that Kamala Harris has spent a lot of time in Canada and doesn't love America, according to you.
No, she doesn't love America. I want my president. That's what I am.
Okay. Does it concern you that Donald Trump is a convicted criminal? Does it concern you what he says about women? Does it concern you that he's been involved in a libel case?
The roundup of 11 million
assaults,
immigrants. Yeah.
Loads of court cases pending. Does I mean, fair enough if it doesn't. There are plenty of people who are happy to just sit on that. That's absolutely fine. What about you?
No. I mean, it does.
bother you.
It kind of does. It's like the same thing with Kamala. She's an incredibly weak candidate, but she is the leader of that team. And it's the same way in this when we fought in this war, Americans to save the British people, and we brought over.
Wow!
And we brought over.
Wow!
Well, you got to see how great.
Look, the only reason the Nazis were defeated is because the Russians kept throwing people at them on a regular basis.
And I will say this. And so we brought over these tanks. These tanks are called Sherman tanks, and they were so poor quality.
No, you know what the great thing about the Sherman tank was from somebody who actually works on stuff like that?
50,000.
Because of all the parts were interchangeable.
Yeah,
that was the great thing about them.
And they made 50,000.
Yeah. And the Tigers were really hard to maintain, but they were way better tanks.
Yes, exactly. So you fight with the tank that you've got. And Donald Trump is my tank. I am his whatever it is. And it is, and just like Kamala Harris, people are saying, "Oh, Kamala Harris is this, and Kamala Harris is this." It doesn't matter. It matters that she's on their team. This is this guy's team.
Yeah, look. One interesting thing about Donald Trump is there are plenty of Republicans out there who don't particularly love Donald Trump, but they do like what he did for America during his first term as presidency, which they see as strengthen the economy, stop wars, and at least have a strong stance on immigration and a plan and a wall and all
Yeah.
the rest of it. No matter what you think about it,
Well-
he did have a plan for those areas.
You speak to him about that.
But,
I'm on
but
your
what
side.
I'm saying is,
Yeah.
people don't necessarily think they have to love Donald Trump. They just don't want Kamala Harris, and they would quite like to see a Republican back in office after 4 or 5 years of Joe Biden.
Kate, it has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. A little bit, maybe more to do with Donald Trump. He's a revolutionary thinker, but this would have happened anyway.
He's a moron.
You can call him a moron, but he's my moron. And he's my moron,
All right.
and he's fighting. He's fighting for.
No, he's fighting for the 1%ers. He
no,
increased.
he is not.
Yes, he is.
Maybe he is.
He
Let's
gave
hope
huge.
he isn't.
Yeah, well, you're not. You're a wannabe 1%er. That's why you've got him going for it. That's what it's
But
going on
there
to
are
that.
a lot more than 1% supporting Donald Trump.
Yeah,
according to
because
the
that's a
polls.
problem. America
Okay.
is a nation full of people who still think they're all going to be millionaires one day.
All right, Lewis Schaffer, Dave
Yeah.
Fulton, let's get your moment of the campaign so far. I'm going to kick off with a starter, the beginning of the end for Joe Biden. It has been a long campaign, hasn't it? Joe Biden, of course, began the campaign as the Democratic nominee, but in the first debate back in June, well, it proved a disaster for him.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
He initially seemed to be resisting calls to stand aside. However, he did in the end. Lewis, let's come to you. That is one of my moments of the campaign. What about you?
What about that? Or you want me to talk about what? I mean, I just thought everybody knew he was losing it, and everybody, and nobody did anything. And then Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi walk in there and say, "You're getting out." And he goes, "Wait a second, I'm the president of the United States." He says, "We don't care. You're not going to have a library unless we're going to indict you. Something's going to happen." And so he basically left. He's got a lot of bad will for those people. That's what Democrats are all about. You're so evil, evil.
You know what the great thing about the Republican Party? I
Yeah.
said this is the great thing about the Republican Party is
Yeah.
they will pick one guy, no matter how bad he is, and they'll put their shoulder behind him and they'll back him 100%. And the problem with the Democratic Party is you got a round table of people who are all very smart, who all have an idea to fix everything, and they can't let one person take control of that.
That's
all,
a lie.
All
That's
light
a
people are just
lie.
all right. They got their hand up, going, "I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it." But they throw their weight behind Trump,
And then it's one man all the
who
way.
wants to do roundup
Yeah.
to people,
Look,
who wants to.
it has-
And one of the problems, by the way, with immigration is not Trump or Biden or the rest of the hee-haw gangs. The fact that we have not upgraded our immigration system since 1990. So we have a backlog of people who are legal immigrants who are still trying to get their immigration status updated,
What does that have
and
to
they
do
can't.
with open borders? And letting
It has nothing to do with open borders
Yeah.
because we can't even process the people who are coming across illegally. We can't even process the people who are seeking asylum. And by the way, the majority of the violent crimes in America are not committed by immigrants.
Who mentioned that? Who
You
mentioned
did.
anything? I didn't know. You think that I'm thinking this is the thing.
Immigrants responsible for more new businesses. They pay more taxes,
Yeah.
and all the violent crimes are done by Americans.
But
Fentanyl
meanwhile-
is brought in by
But
Americans.
meanwhile, the average British person American person who I don't care about. I don't care about people like you and I in Idaho. I don't care. But the average
Trust me, people in
American,
Idaho don't care about anybody in New York either.
Yeah, and we know that. But the point is that when you let in 20 million immigrants,
We did let in 20 million immigrants.
Or 10 million, whatever.
wasn't
you're gonna
even
say.
10.
It is way more.
We have
than
11
that.
million immigrants in America right
the
now.
fact that there's an open border.
There's
it's
no
very
open
distracting.
border.
All right,
this-
chaps. When we come back, I'm going to get your
This is
moments.
supposed to be a lot more funny than this.
It is amusing for us
Okay,
because we
all
say,
right,
thank
all right.
God we're not involved in this.